fuck you wanna be? Like I am what I am, I'm just saying. Homie, this is me. If only you could see, this is who I am, man, understand. You can choose to be who the fuck you wanna be.
Yo, what's up guys? NGK here. Today's episode, I pretty much just wanted to do like a recap video and a recap of one of the panels that I attended at WAMCon this year. For those who don't know what WAMCon is, it was the West Australian Music Conference / Awards that I attended. I think it was 2 weeks ago now. Pretty much just like WA's music conference. A lot of people within the industry within Australia attended and people internationally. And just, yeah, provided a lot of value. This particular panel that I attended was a panel called like Radio Pitching for Artists or something like that. And it had a number of panel members that worked in radio. One of them being Amelia Jenner, the music director at FBI Radio. I think it was Gemma Pike, who's a music director at either Double J or Triple J. And there was a few other people. It was a really good panel. A lot of very important music directors. Like I said, Triple J, FBI, Double J, and a few other people. I think there was a lot of value provided at this panel, and I wanted to kind of, yeah, recap what they talked about to, express that value through here, because there was only like fucking 30 people in there, and what they were saying was really, really dope. Just kind of want to go through step by step of what their advice was to upcoming artists when pitching music to them. How to pitch it, what's the best way, what's kind of some etiquettes along the way, things that they don't like, etc. The first thing that they kind of really chatted about was the whole concept of not being afraid to actually email them, cold email them. I can definitely say that this is something that, I've kind of loopholed in my head over the past couple months, a year or two, of like, man, am I, hustling too much? Is there a point where you're kind of pushing it by just cold emailing people, like pushing your music and shit? This is one of those things where it's not the case. They really express that they're music directors for a reason. That's their job. They're constantly looking for new music. They really want to find the next best artist or the next best song. So they're completely happy to have people email them and plug their music, whether that's, the musician themselves, just emailing them and introducing yourself, or artist management or whatever. Don't be afraid to cold email music directors, and don't apologize within the email. One thing that they were talking about was a lot of artists were just opening the conversation with, I'm sorry if I'm bothering you. Don't do that. Be confident. Just fucking send them your shit. So when sending these emails as well, they were pretty much just saying, you just want to kind of keep things short and sweet. You really just want to say hello, obviously be polite. Give yourself a brief introduction, just a real brief introduction, who you are, what your name is, what kind of style music you play, and where you're from, etc. Just little things like that, just a brief description. And then one thing that I always recommend to artists, because a lot of different people in the industry have different mixed emotions on this, so I always think it's just better to do this anyway. Instead of attaching files of songs, etc., put them in a downloadable platform like Dropbox or Google Drive. Upload them on one of these platforms, and then you can actually just share the link within the email. This is just way more efficient, and it saves people getting kind of clustered in their emails, because when you start attaching shit, it can actually bother some people. I think these music directors weren't too bothered by it, but I just think it's always best to just go with the whole Google Drive, Dropbox link. Next thing they were talking about was not to be discouraged if you don't get a reply from them. I know a lot of artists can kind of just trip out with this shit, and like, this is a self-belief thing as well, but I really just want to kind of get it across there, because even they were talking about it was, yeah, you can't be upset if people don't get back to you. Like, this whole game is about no's to get your yes. You know what I mean? So you're gonna, no matter how good you are, you're literally gonna be getting thousands of no's to get that one yes. This is just a numbers game. So don't be discouraged if they don't reply to you. Just keep doing you, keep hustling. And also on top of that, they were saying even if they do fuck with your shit, they sometimes don't get back to you because they're just so busy. So don't get discouraged if you don't get a response from them. They were also saying if they do end up playing your track or like needing something from you, they will get back to you. Most likely, if you're gonna get played or you're gonna catch them, they will respond to you, so don't kind of panic in that sense. But they were saying sometimes it's possible that it slips by them and you might get played on their station, so to kind of always be checking. So if that's something you have time for, maybe every week or whatever, just check through the directory, check through their library from some of the shows on the radio stations. Yeah, and check if your music's being played. But yeah, most likely they'll get back to you with that. Now, follow-ups. I think this is a very important one. And I was very glad that they kind of touched over on this, because this is something that I kind of tell artists when it comes to emails in general, but obviously very specific to music directors and pitching your music to radio. A follow-up is absolutely okay, and I'm going to put this on a universal scale. Like, a follow-up on anybody, any message is absolutely okay. And I think can sometimes obviously have benefits. Sometimes people miss their emails, sometimes people don't get a chance to respond, and the follow-up is kind of like the ding back in their head. So a follow-up is always necessary. One thing they were really kind of talking about was the timing between that initial email to the follow-up. And one thing that they were saying that was really bothering them and kind of annoying them with some upcoming artists was artists being so impatient that they're following up within like 2 to 3 days. You know, sometimes even the next day, which I just find insane. But I guess, yeah, if you don't know, this is just a learning curve. So yeah, do not follow up on a music director like 2-3 days after you've sent the first email. What they were talking about, which once again for me seems pretty like common sense, is, man, they're so busy, they're going to be getting so many fucking emails. Like, you can't expect a response that quickly. And that's something I'm really kind of starting to become aware of now, with, you know, the amount of emails coming through with us and stuff like that. Like, I'm really understanding the concept of how busy you can get. And this is like tiny on our end. Like, I'm talking to people who are saying they're getting hundreds of emails a day, and that shit's just blowing my mind away. So I think, yeah, really keeping that in mind. They were saying a week. That's the number. You know, follow up within a week. 7 to 10 days is absolutely fine. Send up a nice follow-up. And, you know, with the follow-up, you don't need to make it too fancy. Just real polite. Hey, how you doing? Just in case you didn't get my previous email, just wanted to touch base again and see what your thoughts were. Something as simple as that, but it's absolutely okay to follow up. Gonna say one follow-up. If you follow up once, I don't think there's any point in following up twice. Following up twice is probably pushing it. That's when you might get annoying. If they're not getting back to you on that, then they probably don't fuck with your music. Like, simple as that. So yeah, a follow-up is okay. Just make sure that the time between the initial one and the follow-up is, you know, reasonable. Now, one thing that the music directors, they were talking about, don't email on later on in the week. Don't email on a Thursday, Friday or something, because it gets cluttered, and then they want you to email on a Monday. This is an interesting one, because I totally disagree with this statement. Like, me personally, I fucking hate that statement. And then this is something that I've experienced within the entire industry and just business in general, is people signing off on a Friday and getting back on a Monday when it comes to emails. And I totally understand. People have lives, people have family, etc., etc. Me personally, it's like, if you're passionate about your job and that's your thing, like, signing off on the weekend is not like an excuse. Like, I feel like that's kind of like the social condition thing, that like Saturday, Sunday's the weekend and that's break time. Like, that's like a 9 to 5 thing for me. Unless there's like a legitimate reason. Like I said, you got family and that's your time. Like, I know Gary Vee takes weekends off, and like, that shit's totally respectable, but I feel like a lot of people are using that as the excuse to just, you know, beers on the weekend, do this and that. There is no weekend. That's the way I look at it. Literally, Monday is Saturday, Sunday is Wednesday. It's the same shit. If you're passionate about it and you're truly hustling, that's my concept on that. But this isn't my advice. This is the Triple J FBI radio. This is the music director's advice. They personally said, aim to email them on a Monday and a Tuesday. And if that's what they're saying, then fucking do that. God damn it. People sleeping on their emails on the weekends. Now, probably the last thing that I kind of want to touch over, it was something very interesting. Everything else was kind of, I was like, yeah, like, I personally already knew through experience with everything. I think it was Amelia kind of opened up this conversation, and she was talking about how she actually uses Bandsintown as a tool to find new artists. Very, very interesting. Now, for those who don't know what Bandsintown is, it's actually a platform, a live music platform, where you can create an artist profile and actually post your live shows, your upcoming live shows internationally, and, you know, build a fan base on there. And, you know, if someone's following you on there and you say you're doing a show in Seattle, and then your fans are following you in Seattle, they'll get a notification that you're performing there. It's a really good platform, really good app. You have to be on it, 100%. Anyway, if you're not on Bandsintown, get onto it now. Even if you're not doing shows, you may as well create your profile. To make a profile, I'm pretty sure it's a separate platform similar to like Spotify for Artists. It's called Bandsintown Manager. I'll put the link in the description for you guys anyway. But Bandsintown Manager, claim your artist profile, pimp it out, etc., etc. Anyway, what was interesting is that she was saying that she has found a lot of upcoming artists via Bandsintown, because in Bandsintown you obviously have your location as an artist and you have your tags of what type of music you make. And apparently you can search for that. So she's saying if she wants to find an upcoming hip-hop artist in Perth, she would type in Bandsintown, Perth, hip-hop or R&B, and then it would come up with the artist. So I found that very interesting. That's a very interesting way to search for artists, and if that's what they're actually doing, you need 100% be onto that, because you never know. And this is the whole thing of diversifying content across all platforms. You never know what platform someone's looking, searching, enjoying content on. It's just about putting your footprint on as many platforms as possible to potentially bink that exposure. You never know who's looking on what, and that surprised me. They're looking for artists via Bandsintown. Like, that's crazy. Yeah, I think that was pretty much it. Those were the main topics that I kind of, remembered that I got out of the panel. It was a very good panel. Like I said, this is straight advice from Triple J and FBI Radio. So I think it's very valuable. Wanted to, translate that value to you guys who are tuning in, and hopefully it helps some of you. I understand that these kind of things like pitching to radio and stuff, if you're new to it, you have no idea. So it's all about trial and error, and to have a video like this and hear this from the music directors can really, really change shit for you and really help you out. So yeah, big love everybody. Keep hustling, keep crushing it, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.
Monday come around, she on a calm now, but she told me she never popped a pill. I should never trust her. Fuck is she?